Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to Masechtas Nazir Daf Tes. We are going to begin on Testament Aleph, which is a new parak with the first Mishnah. The Mishnah tells us, "Hareni Nazir min hagrogros min hadevela." Person says that I'm not going to eat the grogros or devela, which are pressed dates and figs, but they're not grapes. Now, a Nazir typically is someone who doesn't eat grape products. So, on this, nonetheless, Beis Shammai Omrim, strangely enough, Nazir. He says that you're still considered to be a Nazir, even though your statement is not based on what the laws of Nazirus is. And perhaps Beis Hillel is more logical. We'll have to understand Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel Omrim Enu Nazir. So says Mefarish, Kivandi Amar Hareni Nazir. Once you said Hareni Nazir, that first statement, Chal and Nazirus, you're now a Nazir. Therefore, Bechi Hadar V'Omer Min Gargus Min Hadevela. So Lo Merkom. So in that situation, you haven't said anything. The reality is that we focused on the first thing you said, and we're toughest lost in Rishon, and therefore you made yourself into a Nazir, and that's it. Anything you say afterwards doesn't matter. You already are now a Nazir. That's how it's explained according to the sheet of Beis Shammai. Says Mefarish, according to Beis Hillel, you're not a Nazir. The kivan the oimer min hagrogros lo shaykh shum nazirus begrogros devela. There's no shaykhus to nazirus. So obviously, that which you were makabel to be a Nazir is not what your intention was. And on this, the Mishnah concludes, Rabbi Yehuda Avkish Amr Beis Shammai, also when Beis Shammai said his din, Lo Amr Ella Ba'omer Hari Hain Olai Carbon. Only if he made the stipulation of Hari Hain Olai Carbon, then he'll hold that you're a Nazir. Says Mefarish, Hari Hain Olai Carbon Claimer Shasuin Olavki Carbon. That's like a carbon. She Nadar Mil Echol Mehen. You made a neder from eating them. So according to him, he says you're not a Nazir, but it just means that you've made a declaration that you're now this Nazirus is Chal. So Hareni Nazir min hagrogros min hadevela. So Beis Shammai Omrim Nazir. It's for the Gemara, but my it goes totally against what the pasuk says. Mikol asher yasim gefen hayanim rachmal. The Torah says anything comes from grape products, not grogros, not devela. So why would Beis Shammai think that he should be a Nazir? Obviously, he's not referring to the laws of Nazirus, so he shouldn't be a Nazir. So Beis Shammai Sabri Lo Krameir. First of all, because Beis Shammai holds like the sheet of Rameir that we've seen elsewhere. He obviously said this not just for no reason. He said it for some reason. So the fact that he said it, it must be because he really wanted to become a Nazir. Beis Hillel Sabri Lo Karab Yosi Diamer B'Gemar Devar Adam Nitvas. According to Beis Hillel, he says, now you go buster the last thing you said, and therefore the last thing you said was something which is almost nonsensical, because grogros and devela is not something which is shaykh by the dinim of Nazirus. V'hai nadar pischo imoihu. So let's look at the Mefarish. So what exactly is the shita of Rameir? So a person says, Arch Kliolai. A person says, I want the erchin of a vessel to be upon me. Now, Adam Yodei Shein Erech Kli. We know that erchin is totally on a person, not on a vessel. People know that. Therefore, B'chai B'chol Demei Erko. Therefore, you are chayiv for the value of erchin. So, what do you mean? The answer is because you wouldn't have said it for no reason. It must be because you really did want the erchin to be chal. So af hachinami ki amar hareni naz min hagrogros yodehu shein nazirus min hagrogros. Everyone knows that it's grape products, nothing else. Obviously, he didn't say for no reason. Therefore, he accepted upon himself to be a Nazir. However, Beis Hillel says no, he's not a Nazir, because he holds like the shita of Rav Yossi. Who is that? So he quotes the Gemara. Mefarish does. At the ending words is what you hold on to. Since he mentioned these foods which are not grapes, so that's what we say we hang on ourselves on. It's nothing. We know that Rabbi Yossi also holds that you go basar He says, Af b'gemar davar v'adam nitfas. You also go after the last words. So the toughest lashon rishon, umidikaimer af lahavi nazir. He should still be a nazir. Misham the toughest lashon rishon. Well, it doesn't mean that you only go bust to the last statements. You go both. So then for the first statement, he should be a nazir because it should be chal holokasha. When do we say you go also after the second statement? If you have an animal which is chulin, you have two animals and you want to be able to transfer its kedusha to these two other animals. So you made this statement, which is the typical statement, famous statement. You say Tumuras oil and Tumuras shlomim. Now these are two totally different things. An animal cannot be an oil and a shlomim at the same time. But since in this situation, because we have actually two animals in front of us, one could be an oil, one can be a shlomim. So Timacher should sell shlomim. Therefore, you can give the value for half and half. So the af b'gemar devar adam nitvas. Therefore, we'll go buster even the second statement of him saying that it's not just a tumoros oil, it's a tumoros shlomim. That we're also going to say it could be a shlomim. That was his intention. L'shem oil, l'shem shlomim, because it was two animals, one for an oil, one for a shlomim. He just couldn't say it at the same time. That's what he said one after the other. Of a gam in Nazirus, like a memahach, can't say this. Havile hay neder upischli moy shlo hizer elmin agrigris. The hoyel do ichal and Nazirus begrigris in the bar of kulam inu nazir klal. So this explains question number 3, which is also Tosis similarly. Question 3 is Harin Nazman agrigris or Behu do have nazir miyayin miyayin. Kasha v'hari shamina lo ba'omer hari zet tumuras oil tumuras shlomim tovas loshen rishon v'hachinami nemahachi. Right, so it doesn't mean that Rav Yossi only goes basar loshen acharite, basar the last loshen. It means that he also does. So, but that means you should also go basar loshen rishon. So Gemara says, so Taisus and Mafar says you're right. That's only over there. The Sasri Hashonos, you have a contradiction. You said Ol and a Shlomim. You can't say the latter words as come to explain the first ones. So easily Tafas Losh and Rishain. So therefore it's shaykh to say you should also hold on to the first one. So that's the idea. That if it's possible that the last statement is really coming to explain Parusha Yekam Mafarish, as we see elsewhere, so then that's the din. And therefore, since he said Grogus and Devela, so therefore, obviously, that's not a reality. And since it's not a reality, so the din is that it's not going to be Chal. Mashain Kane, when it comes to a situation where it's possible that both of them could apply, so then we will say also Nitfos Loshen Rishon. But over here, we're not going to be Nitfos Loshen Rishon because it's possible that the second one is coming to explain the first one. Okay, so that's the basic idea the Mefarsh and Tosis also explains. So let's go back to the Gemara. So the reason why Beis Shammai says that in fact he's a Nazir is because we say Ein Adam Moitze Devar V'Vatala. Fine. So Beis Shammai Nami Neder Pischli Mohu. Why don't we say the same thing? That maybe he's just coming to explain in the latter words what he really meant in the first words. Therefore, he shouldn't be a Nazir. El Beis Shammai Sevel Kremeir. You're right. First of all, you're right. He holds a grammar the Omer in Adamatza de Bavatala. He must have meant something. The Kivan the Omer Hareni Nazir. So once you make yourself into a Nazir, Havli Nazir. That's it. You're a Nazir. So Kikar Minute Gorgus Minute Veil, as we said before, once you said those other statements, it's Shulehu Dikasi. He's only doing this because he's regretting his original Kabbalah. That's what it means. The second statement is basically saying, I don't want to be a Nazir, but it's too late. Can't you retract? When it comes to hektish, in she'ela, you can't change it. You can't go to a chacham. There's no heter chacham, and therefore, because of that, the din is that it remains hektish. So too comes to nazirus as well. Beis Hill Savri Karav Shimon the non. Rav Shimon Paiter Shlo Hisnadiv Kedecham Isnadvin. So he says that it's nothing because you didn't make the neder the normal way. So the nedava, and this we're going to see in this situation, if you look actually at the very bottom Tosfos, this is going to be later on. Harei mincha min hasa'orim. Person says, I'm going to bring from from barley, yavi min achitin, and he brings from wheat. Rav Shimon Paiter. Rav Shimon says, no, because even though we know it's supposed to be from wheat, from chitin, so the question is, since he said sa'orin, so does it mean anything? So according to Rav Shimon, he says you're pater, because the nedava is only wheat, and you made a nedava barley, so therefore it's not a proper nedava. It wasn't a proper statement, and therefore if it was a proper statement, it doesn't work. So too over here, the statement that you made wasn't proper, therefore it doesn't work. Okay, question TA 14. Hareni Nazir ben Gorgus umen adevel ben Shamir amrim Nazir. So madua who Nazir? Bari ein Nazir is begregris. It's not grapes. Madua l'armina dahavile kinishal al nidroi. Like he's basically explaining what he meant in the first statement, which basically is saying that he doesn't want to be a Nazir. So he says, first of all, because a person's first statement, we say, like Rameir, and the Gemar Liba Leos Nazir. He originally didn't want to become a Nazir. V'she'ela lo mahani, and retracting doesn't help around L'Bei Shammai, but Nazir is kamo behekdesh. You don't have the ability to retract. Okay, so with that said, let's now continue with Tes Amud Beis. Masnisin Delo Ki Aitana. So our Mishnah is not in accordance to the following opinion. Rav Nassan says, regarding the Machlokes Beis Shammai Sil, the Beis Shammai Omrim Nader v'Nazir, that actually it is a good neder, and he's a Nazir. Beis Hillel Omrim Nader, it is a good neder, ve'enu Nazir, but he's not a Nazir. So what does that mean? So Beis Shammai Savel Karameir. So Beis Shammai holds like Rameir, that person is not going to be more to the Rav. He obviously meant to make himself into a Nazir. Rabbi Huda, and he also holds like the Shita, the opinion of Rabbi Huda, which let's see. So he holds like Rameir in amongst Rav, and we have over here, okay, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, okay. So first of all, let's see what that means. So Taisa says another Mia Habi. It's a good neder. It's good neder. Mesil Rav Shimon and feel neder lo Habi. So this is based on this machlokas between Rav Shimon, whether you're pater or not. Rav Shimon pater delo mistam kederach masnadvin, and according to in which Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with. So Beis Shammai Savar lo Rav Meir Rabbi Yehuda. Beis Hillel Savar lo Rav Yosi. Now Lishnachri, another way of saying this. To Amri lo Rav Nassan Aimer. Rav Nassan says that Beis Shammai Amrim Nader ve'enu Nazir. It's a neder, but he's not a Nazir. Beis Hillel Amrim lo Nader lo Nazir is nothing. Beis Shammai Rabbi Yehuda, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, which is the reason why Beis Hillel Rav Shimon. Because Rav Shimon holds it's not the normal way that you're misnadiv, so therefore it doesn't work. Okay, Tanan Hasim. So we learned a person makes the declaration that I'm going to bring barley, which is not the proper nedava for a mincha. It's got to be wheat. So he made that statement. Yavi minachitin. So the din is that you still have to bring from wheat, similar to what Beis Shammai says. That again must be that you meant what you said was really to bring a carbon, to bring a mincha, and therefore it has to be wheat. So too, even though he said groigris, so we say you're still a nazir. Kemach, let's say you say kemach yavi soilos, you still have to bring fine flour. Shlo b'shem and l'avoyna, say I'm going to bring a mincha without oil or frankincense. Yavinu b'shem and l'avoyna, you still have to. Chatzi yisarin, let's say you say I'll bring half of yisarin, yavi yisarin shalim, which is the amount that one needs to bring for a mincha. Yisarin umachsa, 1.5, yavi shnayim, so you have to bring 2. Rav Shimon pointer says no. If you didn't do it the proper way, so therefore it doesn't work. So Mantana, who's this Tana that says that when you make a declaration regarding barley, which again is not shayach v'ayim mincha, that you have to bring still wheat, and therefore it's still chal, what you said. It's very clear, like Beis Shammai. As we said, that when it comes to Beis Shammai, he holds, Lav Amri Beis Shammai isn't not the case. That when it came to our Mishnah, Ki Amri Min Agregus Umin Devela. Nonetheless, even though those are not great products, Habi Nazir, you're still considered to be a Nazir. So Hachinami Ki Amri Min Asarin, maybe Min Achitin. Even though the mincha can only be from wheat, and you mentioned barley, so the din is the same thing. You still have to bring from wheat. So that's the same shita, an opinion of Beis Shammai. Says Taisus, Af agav the Gregorius lo shaykh Nazir's klal, mishum de ein adamoy to the Rabbi Matala. So hachinami min asarin by barley. Af agav the lo shaykh asarin lo mincha, even though there's no barley offering for a mincha, carbon mincha, yavi chitin de ein adamoy to the Rabbi Matala. Rav Yochanan feel tema diber koil. You can say that this is even according to the Shita Beis Hillel as well. Beis Hillel will also agree when it comes to the situation regarding the carbon. Had I known that I shouldn't have made a neder regarding barley, I wouldn't have made a neder this way except this way. Says Taisus, I made a mistake. That you can make a neder with barley. That's the reason why you have to bring it, because the whole thing was a mistake. So on this Chizkiah says, that's only mentioned barley, so it's pretty close to wheat. Which is lentils, since people wouldn't make such a mistake. The distinction between wheat and barley, they're pretty close. And therefore, it's possible to think that even though you mentioned barley, the din is you still have to bring wheat. However, if you mention lentils, it's pretty clear that that's not anything to do with one of the grains, and therefore you would not have to bring a carbon of wheat. So Michdi. Chizkiah Kaman Moikim. Who does he hold on Masnis and Kaveh Shammai? Ibaha Dashim Agami Mincha. Lentils regarding a mincha is Ki Gorgus Agami Nazir Damu. The Kamer Beis Shammai Habi Nazir. So L'chaira, just like our Mishnah, Beis Shammai says the fact that you mentioned Gorgus, which is way off, and everyone knows that's not grapes, it has no shaychus to Nazirus. Nonetheless, he still says the Nazirus is chal. So Beis Shammai should also say the same thing over here, that even if you say a dashim, you should still be mechuyev to have to bring a carbon of wheat. For answers hadar be Chizkiah. So on this, Chizkiah in fact retracted. Okay, fine. So fine. Vilkin Taisus, he says hadar be Chizkiah mihahi perish memai de ukil masnisin, that which it said to menachos. Beis Shammai, that we hold like Beis Shammai regarding that umukilak Rabbi Yochanan v'omer. Via my hadar base. So why do you retract? So Rabbi Masnisin Kashisa, because there's a difficulty in the language. My irid tanimin hasirin listim in hadashim. Why does it mention barley? It must be it's telling you dafka when it comes to barley, but if it comes to lentils, because it's so far off, then it wouldn't work. So therefore, that's why it must be clearly. Again, this he had to retract. Says Taisus Claimer, Im Masnisin Kebei Shammai. If we really hold like Beis Shammai over here, so Matam de in Adamites the Devar Vavatal list, they adashim to have a revusat fei. There would be a bigger chiddush, because a person's not going to be, if it's true in Adamites the Devar Vavatal, a person doesn't say anything for no reason, so then you should say the same thing by adashim. It should be the same thing, but that would be even a bigger chiddush because it's so far removed, and nonetheless it would still work. The fact that it doesn't mention adashim, instead it mentions So'irim, which is pretty close to chitim, so maybe it's dafka by that, however, not by a dashim. But according to Beis Shammai, he wouldn't be machalik. He would say even by a dashim, you would say that you would have to bring a carbon mincha. Elasavar Chizkiah holds ki kamer Beis Shammai hasam Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yochanan oimer filu min hadashim. He would say even when it comes to lentils, you have to still bring a carbon. Rabbi Yochanan who diamer ba'omer ilu ha'yisi yodei she'noidin mekach u'nadarti kach u'kach. So the Varv the Chizkiah who the Kaimer, he's explaining according to this. At my time of Kahadri Bach, why did you retract Mishum Doi Katani Min Hadashim? Because it doesn't mention the lentils. So Dilma Lo Miboy Kaimer. Lo Miboy Kaimer Madashim. When it comes to lentils, it's no chiddush. The ma'isi mincha mal yosli. You have to bring a carbon mincha with wheat. The ikol meimer mehaderhu. Maybe he retracted the hader bay v'tafas lashon rishon. We go buster lashon rishon, which is that he wants to bring a carbon, and that's it. The fact that he said this notion of he wants to bring a mincha. So then the fact that he said it later on. So again, like Beis Shammai, he's not chayzer. El kiyomer min hasarim, when you mention barley, vade the haki karmer. This is what he meant. Ikadsha kiminchas oimer, if it has the kedusha like a minchas oimer, which is barley, yodam alf. O kiminchas saita, which also is brought from barley, tikdash lo kamashmon demais minachitin. So you could actually make a bigger mistake. A more logical mistake. A dashim is nothing. However, there are karbanos that we actually do use barley. When it comes to on the beginning of Pesach, the minchas oimer is from barley. And when it comes to the saita, she brings a mincha of barley. So maybe when he said this, Taka, maybe he was saying dafka. It has to be this way. And the fact of it, the reality is, other than those two things, you can't bring it from barley. So therefore, maybe he's not mochet to bring it at all. So the chiddush is that he still would have to bring it even so. So really, maybe the chiddush is the other way around. The chiddush is the barley. That even though you said barley, you would think maybe it doesn't. It's not chal there because you would maybe think that a person had this intention. Okay, let's see. We're going to stop there, see the mafarsh. Third last line. B'hadi amar basar hachi meno adashim misham to kaboil mehader be kaimer. Demiyedi yada, he knows the min adashim in mavin klum. You don't bring lentils anywhere in the base of Mikdash. It's clear he was just saying it to remove himself. However, since we hold that we go buster Lashon Rishon, so he has to bring it. Even though we know his intentions were not to bring it, but we say that there's no Ein Sheila, they can't change it. So, but the Chiddush is, even if he said barley, you would think that maybe the din should be Taka, that you would have that he would be able to say, I don't have to bring a carbon anymore. Kamash one, the chiddush is even by sarim you have to bring a wheat carbon. Okay, let's look at question 4. If you say lentils, so mastadim is that. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, the reason is like Beis Shammai, and therefore even when it comes to a dashim, you would have to bring a carbon mincha of wheat. So adin de min adashim yavi menachitin. L'chizkia de amayri b'omer ilu hayisi odeya kivan da dashim leka detoy l'maisi. So when it comes to a dashim, a person would not make such a mistake, and therefore he would not have to bring TA. Oh, let's see if there is another TA. No, TB 15. Hari alai mincha l'havi minasarim yav minachitin. Be'ez oifen mayri di asi alib de kol yama. When does everyone say that you definitely have to bring from wheat? Ma din l'kimta zu ba'omer min hadashim. I got this half wrong. It's a difficult question. Ba'omer ilu hayisi odeya shein nadrim sa'arim. If a person said, had I known that you cannot make a neder with sa'arim hayisi oimer chitim, then I would have used wheat. So if he makes that statement, so then according to everyone, he would in fact have to bring it out of wheat, because he can just say, I didn't know. Had I known, then I would have done differently. When it comes to a dashim, the lekel mita, you can't make such a mistake. The mincha ba mehem ein mevi klum. Then you would not have to bring anything. Adkan.